Week of environmental messages closes with Oceans Initiative. Doctors Association happy with police response. And St. John's Ambulance to be recognized as official emergency healthcare provider.
This is National EMTV News with Helen Sayer.
Good evening and thank you for joining me for Friday's news. In a week that started off with World Environment Day, it ended today with the Coral Triangle Initiative Day. While this day may not be as globally recognized as World Environment Day, the bit of the ocean it seeks to preserve has global consequences. This part of the ocean that includes the exclusive economic zones of 6 countries is said to be the nursery of the seas and considered the world's center of marine life.
The Coral Triangle is held in such high regard because of the concentration of marine species in the area. It is home to 76% of the world's coral species and 37% of the coral reef fish species. In Port Moresby, the Coral Triangle Initiative Day was commemorated with the cleanup of Taikone Beach in Gabutu, with tagging and releasing 2 turtles. This year's focus is in raising awareness on the impact of plastics.
Basically because plastics don't degrade biologically. They're very hard to degrade. They last for over 20-30 years in the ocean. So when you have plastic bags covering the corals, they find it very hard to breathe.
From 2017 to 2019, Solomon Islands will be the vice chair of the CTI Secretariat.
Making sure that the national action plans mirror the regional action plans, basically focusing on these goals.
It's a big week for ocean, both globally and in PNG. In New York, the UN hosted the first Oceans Conference, which put the health of the ocean on center stage. At this conference, one of PNG's commitments is to establish marine protected areas.
SIPA has been working on is declaring the Bootless Bay as the first model marine protected areas in the country. So we are working closely with all our partners.
Back home, provinces like New Ireland and East New Britain have pressing ocean concerns dealing with the impending seabed mining. Yesterday, some communities from East New Britain and New Ireland met in Namatanai to raise their concerns and their continued stance against seabed mining. Sarah Aupong, National EMTV News.
The National Doctors Association says there won't be a doctor's strike in Port Moresby's government hospital following the beating of a doctor last week Wednesday. The association is happy with the response they have received from the police hierarchy, saying it went as far as the chief secretary. The Police Internal Investigation Unit says the police officers implicated have been called in for questioning. Bethany Herriman with this report.
When Dr. Newman Barry was beaten by police, it brought disrepute to the Royal Papua New Guinea Constabulary. The Police Commissioner Gary Baki instructed the Internal Affairs Unit to find those responsible for the injuries. Today, Director Robert Ali said they are in the process of identifying the police officers involved.
It's one thing to charge them, but the other thing is the challenge is on us as investigators to make sure that we get the evidence to make sure that each and every one of them are held to account for their actions. What role did each and every one of them play? That's the critical part that we need to deal with.
Director Ali says there are at least 3 police units implicated in the incident and they will be called in for interrogation.
Actions we want to take either criminally or administratively, our own internal system, we've got to comply with the requirements of the law.
Dr. Newman Barry told MTV that he was beaten by police officers at Tokarara after dropping off his sister. He said the policemen were drunk. At the time, they accused him of dropping off criminals and proceeded to beat him. The extent of his injuries were severe.
You can park in car, Palmilla. So, no, I said, I'm not a rascal. I'm a doctor. I'm a training doctor working at Port Moresby General Hospital. They said, no, you German. And they, 6 or 7 men, threw their punches around me, clenched fist, and I felt lost my consciousness. I fell to the colter, and later somebody kicked me hard on my right ear.
The Doctors Association was appalled by the act of brutality. They threatened to go on strike throughout Port Moresby's government hospitals by this afternoon.
Has been injured by policemen. I think it's a message to the public and the government of the day that at least something big change must take place. Right? And because of that, we have made some strong decisions that we will make now. One, we said that starting today at 3 p.m. till Friday at 3 p.m. Right? The people that have been involved must be taken by the police, reported to the police.
This afternoon, when contacted by EMTV, NDA National Secretary Dr. Sam Yokapua said the association is satisfied with the response from the police hierarchy. He says the case has reached the highest level of authority. The Police Commissioner Gary Baki and the Chief Secretary Isaac Lupari is aware. Bethany Harriman, National EMTV News.
People's National Congress Party leader and Prime Minister Peter ONeill is calling for a change in leadership for the people of Kandep. Mr. ONeill promised a brighter future for Kandep while slamming statements by the opposition and its members to cut back on his government's policies of free education and free healthcare. The Prime Minister was in Kandep yesterday to support PNC candidate Alfred Manasseh, who is contesting the Kandep seat.
PNC heavyweights were in Kandep district of Enga yesterday to back candidate Alfred Manasseh. PNC party leader and Prime Minister Peter ONeill, Enga Governor Sir Peter Ipatas, Imbongu MP Francis Awesa and Wabek MP Robert Ganim showed solidarity as campaign rallies for PNC continue before polling. Despite Kandep being a stronghold for the current opposition leader and sitting MP Don Pole, over 1,000 rallied to hear from the ruling government. Prime Minister Peter ONeill told the crowd, despite the political differences between the government and opposition, leaders must work together for people to benefit. Alfred Manasseh is contesting under the PNC banner. He hopes PNC's flagship policies will help the district see more services if he is elected.
That I hope also by this by sensing the safe policy.
PM ONeill assured the Kandep people the Kandep Mendi Road and other impact projects will be completed under the PNC government.
Now time the election come up. You must work in righteous. One time government by uniforming people behind time. You know, they're going to everyone to want to man. There's the government in the God and government the Euro.
31 candidates are contesting for the Kandep open seat. Jack Lapava Jr. National EMTV News.
The election office in Medang is confident of delivering the 2017 election despite the limited funds being made available. Election manager Peter Yassaros says the Electoral Commission has allocated 290,000 kina to the province to conduct the election. Yassaro made these remarks yesterday following the official opening of a two-day training for the returning and assistant returning officers.
Election manager Peter Yassaros says this money has already been allocated to train 19 assistant returning officers and 6 returning officers. The workshop will help them to carry out the task as a prescribing officer for a polling team.
Equip them with a work block polling, lining model, passing block polling, so they already by gone conducting training block, polling officers block, local level government centers block, training more polling officers. Secondly, me plan like equip more by already have a good process, the procedure block counting.
This is to make sure that straight after the polling is completed, counting can be conducted properly.
We allocated 3 vehicles, so they are in lay. Me plan finding finish our 3 driver all by Ximika Friday tomorrow, which is tomorrow. Those are vehicles, 3 vehicles, and all our materials are also coming on 2 containers. They will be arriving on Monday, and also very sensitive materials are also coming on Monday by air. That is ballot boxes, stationaries, ballot papers, everything, common roll.
The Madang provincial government has also allocated 1 million kina to support elections in the province. The money will be used mainly to fund security forces that will be coming into the province, but it will also support other areas, including trainings, if the need arises.
Our budget to elections, we play top him up as well with the recent money come to provincial coffers. We play put him go along 1 million kina, we play game long support to election. But most of it really goes to bring in the extra troops that are coming in, especially the correctional services. All defense force only come and we play Pilimas and all come support him. And then training plan now all some all funding to this plan. Some logistics me play Pilimos and me play game support to go and me play game support also go along electoral commission now.
Mata Luis, National EMTV News, Madang.
The Broca Fire Service is yet to provide a statement for a recent fire at Broca's East. In these amateur pictures taken by a resident, the fire gutted the old colonial-built residence at an unstoppable speed. Residents say the fire service responded hours later as neighbors attempt to stop the blaze using rubber hoses. According to residents, no injury or death were reported. However, residents are urging the fire service to be responsive during emergency calls. A family of a known central candidate was living at the property at the time of the incident. National EMTV News continues after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back. St. John Ambulance will soon be recognized as an emergency healthcare provider by the Health Ministry. Health Minister Michael Malabag said this will see the St. John's receive direct funding to cover their operations. Health Minister Michael Malabag made this announcement when pledging 800,000 kina to the St. John's Ambulance.
The government, we have already given 700,000 over to St. John Ambulance. That's from our commitment of initial commitment of 1.5 million kits. Another 800,000 will be delivered very, very shortly. As we go along, we will look at also increasing that amount. So there is within the budget component that there is money set aside for St. John ambulances when we are preparing our yearly national budgets, and I believe that's...
St. John's Ambulance has been providing life-saving and healthcare services to Port Moresby residents for 60 years as a private health service provider. This funding will allow them to continue their emergency services and to expand their functions.
By making this announcement today, the Minister has reinforced to the community support for emergency pre-hospital care in NCDC and the nearby central and Gulf provinces to continue.
The funding will go towards 2 paramedic training programs that will commence on July 10 and a setup at the Gerhu Hospital. The training programs include the first ever paramedic training for health extension officers, while the other is the emergency medical technician intermediate qualification that is tailored to PNG's health system. Meanwhile, the Governor-General, Bob Dadai, said in a media release that private-public partnerships must be encouraged so that charity organizations can continue to deliver services. Merlin Diaukatam, National EMTV News. The district administrator for Ley says the medicine shortage in the city's urban clinics should be addressed in the coming days with provincial government interventions. While details of that intervention have not been made clear, DA Robin Kalistus says he is aware of the problem.
Urban clinics like Buimo and Malahang have been sending patients away with prescriptions. According to health professionals working in the clinics, this shortage has driven up the cost of medicines bought outside the government health system. District Administrator for Ley Robin Kalistus says those concerns have been referred to the provincial health authorities for action.
I think they're working around the clock to get that sorted out, and they will provide the medicines to the health facilities. But to date, we have not received the medicines yet.
In previous years, the Morobe provincial government has intervened to ease medicine shortages. This time, it's taking a bit longer. But the shortages aren't just affecting Lae City. Port Moresby, Mount Hagen and Medang have also reported shortages of anti-malarial drugs and antibiotics. Patients we spoke to this week have been hit hard by the shortage. Late yesterday, the Health Secretary released a statement saying he had met with key stakeholders, including people from the Procurement Division. He is expected to hold a news conference next week to expand on the details. He is also given assurances that medicines should start to be delivered within 10 days. Scott Wide, National EMTV News, Lae.
Youth involved in the Urban Youth Employment Project in Port Moresby want a continuation of the project. Initially a brainchild of current National Capital District Governor Poes Pakop, youth are saying they want more political support. They say the program has had huge positive impact to those who failed in the formal education system.
The Urban Youth Employment Project has been running for almost 5 years with funding support from the World Bank. This initiative aims to support unemployed youth. Youth from all over the city have registered to be part of this program, but there is now great concern with World Bank ending its support.
I think government must look na try employ more samla isla kind of youth slow kind of project must kisim kam na almost ongoing.
It is a common sight for many who come into the city for business. These youth make up a big chunk of the urban population and have come this far to be trained and get a feel of being employed.
So me like this one project must continue. Me less law and by stop or some because I'm stop. Me play stop nothing. Me play no good plus something.
EMTV visited one of the project sites yesterday outside Port Moresby. Youths were out building a car park, footpath and flower bed for the Bomana Demonstration Primary School. The contractor says this project is vital and appropriate support must be given.
Most of these youths are willing to take part in this type of project, and I would like this project to maybe continue on, especially reach out to the other sites where the project hasn't reached yet.
The program has had a huge impact on those who have been part of it. And like many other projects, the growing interest is now being hit hard by funding woes regarding its sustainability.
Apil blomilong all youths na all mampaba ostab within lo NCD. Imi mas tintin good long all youths blimi. Na tintin lo future blimi na imi mas magi samla right leader we oken continue msakan project we welbengem kam lusim longan.
Jack Lapave Jr. National EMTV News.
A new boat called MV About 2 will provide logistics and support for DDA officials and service people living along the coast of About District in Central Province. The boat was purchased from Philippines at a cost of 1.2 million kina and brought into the country last week. Eric Harupma traveled to Kupiano and files this report.
About District is one of the remote districts in Central Province. Traveling by road takes hours for people to reach the district headquarters. Over the years, they have used water as the main mode of transport to access government services in Kupiano Station. People traveled from as far as Cloudy and Amazon Bays, Waningela, Gabone, Kelerakwa and Aroma villages using banana boats and outrigger canoes. Considering maritime as the safest transportation route, About District Development Authority have purchased a new boat to roll out government services along these areas. MV About 2 will provide logistics and support for government officials to implement government services in health, education, for election purposes, and provide rescue and emergencies.
We carry out our health patrols, education inspection trips, and also surveillance and sea ambulance work. If we have referrals of patients from rural health facilities to the health centers here, we want to use this, especially for the coastal areas of this district.
The boat was purchased in Philippines at the cost of 1.2 million kina. Sitting MP and Public Service Minister Sepuka Temu urged crews to take ownership of the boat.
Please, captain and the crew, comply with those requirements. Don't go too fast all the time. Make sure that the boat is looked after like a child. because the better we look after it, the longer it will serve the people of Abau.
The boat will carry a capacity of more than 20 passengers with luggage.
So it's quite a big boat, 13 meters long and 4 meters wide. So it's quite a big vessel. And I think when we brought it up from Mosby, it was a good test. We came in the rough weather. It was used in the rough weather to come up here, and according to people who have traveled in that boat who came around, it's very good. It's quite steady and reliable in types of weather.
Eric Arupma, National MTV News.
Palmilla District in East New Britain province is remote and isolated, but the coming of a multi-million kina oil palm project into the district has put the district as one of the fast developing regions in the province. But new development means new challenges for the people, and amongst them is law and order that the district wants to strengthen. Edwin Fidelis has more on this story.
Palmilla District is a world on its own. Most of the Palmilla people are scattered in small hamlets along the coastline and up in the mountains. The district's headquarters at Palmilla is cut off from the rest of East New Britain province. Almost all the basic services needed by the people are located here. To get to Palmilla, it requires a trip by air on small commercial airplanes or a 6-hour trip on a boat. But unlike the rest of East New Britain, Palmilla District is going through a rapid change.
The business that they have here is to go into large-scale oil palm development.
The coming of oil palm has since generated a cash economy for the 10,000 plus people living here. In 2015, the landowner groups invited Guildford, a subsidiary business arm of the RH group of companies, through the public-private partnership concept to come into their land and plant oil palm. The basic knowledge is that they want better roads, schools and health services for the people. Their basic needs that they haven't received much of it for many years.
Successive governments over the years have, due to various reasons, given little attention to the Palmilla District.
But the coming of oil palm has brought with it new challenges to the people that centers around law and order. Yesterday, the Police Commissioner Gary Bucky flew into Palmilla from Kokopo to officiate at the opening of a new police residence built by the oil palm developers. And he chose the occasion to remind the people about the importance of law and order in the country, especially in developing areas like Palmilla District.
So I'm challenging you player. So as you play like in police by must move inside law here. You play must make him man and me look sabe law work law and order inside long up you mean.
The Palmilla people know all too well that if they don't invite foreign investors onto their land, the district won't change. But Palmilla is seeing some changes after many years. Its education, health infrastructures and public machinery will be upgraded. Amongst them is the law and order system.
So as you play like in police by stop long you play too must create an environment that is good. The policeman by can walk inside here. Social issues can come. The fact that you make a development does not necessarily mean you abuse him. You must look out him. Now walk about them.
The police commissioner told the people to look into the future in terms of law and order issues that may derive from the oil palm development. Having a proper law and order system in place would mean more investors will come and invest here. And he asked for an open dialogue between the political heads of the district and the police department to make sure law and order is maintained in this isolated part of the province. Edwin Fidelis, National MTV News, Kokopo.
A new small to medium enterprise business has opened at 9 Mile outside Port Moresby. The Spare Parts and Tyre Service Centre will not only serve the interest of the owner, Mac Luai, but the community as well.
This spare parts house and the workshop is now open for business.
An SME business, a spare parts and tyre service centre, was recently opened at 9 Mile outside Port Moresby. The shops are part of the Mac group of companies owned by Mac Lawai. From humble beginnings, Mr. Lawai said although he had limited education, it's his commitment in church that opened doors for him.
Me too, me school too. Me go to school, but me go to church, so God giving me wisdom.
Mr. Lawai said there are plans to open a supermarket soon with ATM facilities for the 9 Mile community. He encouraged others in the community to venture into business and make a positive difference in society.
One link you got, one idea you got, you must make use of it.
Mr. Lawai's business is helping the government's small to medium enterprise or SME policy and master plan launched in 2016. The government's vision is to see PNG citizen businessmen and women grow the local SMEs in the country from 50,000 to 500,000 by 2030. Deli Waigeno, National, EMTV News.
And now looking at our finance news, the kina closed unchanged at $0.3145 in the interbank markets. At Bank South Pacific, your kina was buying $0.307, $0.4044 Australian dollars, $0.2709 euro, and 33.46 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, gold closed lower, while coffee, cocoa, and copra closed the day higher. Palm oil, crude oil, and copper closed the day lower. And on the stock market, the Dow Jones closed at 0.84 points higher, the ASX closed at 1.2 points higher, and the All Ordinaries closed at 0.71 points higher. When we come back, stories making headlines overseas, including an apology by Saudi football officials following the World Cup qualifier against Australia. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Turning overseas, and in Australia, families and businesses are being promised cheaper power bills under a new plan that will end the war over energy policy. Australia's chief scientist has recommended the country adopt a clean energy target during his meeting with leaders and the Prime Minister.
Could this be the solution to Australia's energy crisis?
The clean energy target mechanism.
The country's chief scientist believes so. Dr. Alan Finkel says a clean energy target is the best way forward.
10% lower energy costs over the next 3 decades than business as usual.
Dr. Finkel has told state and federal leaders meeting in Hobart it's the best option to reduce power bills, lower emissions and make electricity reliable.
You can't achieve all of that unless you also give certainty to the investors who are going to build the new generation that you need.
From 2020, a certain proportion of power would have to come from renewables or low-emission sources. As well as a clean energy target, the new scheme would include incentives for consumers to limit their power use. Owners of power generators would have to give 3 years' notice before closing, and there'd be more energy storage to prevent blackouts.
It has a number of virtues, very strong virtues.
The eastern states want policy certainty as they brace for power price hikes of up to 30% from next month.
We strongly support the report.
We're focused on downward pressure on household prices.
Dr. Finkel says it's up to the federal government to decide exactly what the target would be and which technologies to exclude. That's where the political battle could intensify.
I'm prepared to work with him constructively.
Labor's signalled it could support the plan, but Malcolm Turnbull would still have to convince Conservatives within his own party.
There will be thorough discussion with the backbench. We've got to find a way to stem the flow of power prices.
What the Australian people want to see is that their interests are being put first, not the factions of the Liberal Party.
The government is expected to respond to the report in coming weeks.
Grieving friends are gathering in London to mourn and remember one of 2 Australians killed in last week's attack on London Bridge.
The death of 2 young Australian women in the London Bridge terror attacks has deeply shocked the expat community here. Thousands of Australians living and working here are still trying to make sense of what happened. And today, a few friends of one of the victims, 21-year-old Sarah Zelenak, came together to pay tribute to her. Sarah was a nanny here, and that's what a lot of young Australian women are doing over here, including Tara Robertson-Hall. She spoke to us today and says she can't believe her friend is gone.
Not hearing from her for so long was really scary, and about Tuesday night we sort of went, you know, with the news that was coming in, even though it hadn't been confirmed, it was just like, we know, it's, yeah.
Meantime, security vision has emerged of the 3 terrorists apparently finalising their deadly plot. These images were captured outside a gym in East London where one of the terrorists worked out. Now, the trio was seen laughing and talking, and at one stage, one of them leaves behind a mobile phone and they disappear off screen, perhaps believing that the device is bugged and intelligence agencies are listening in. 5 days after these pictures were taken, the men put their barbaric attack into place and drove across London Bridge. The gym has been closed ever since it emerged that Karam Butt trained there. A message posted on the door outside says that the gym is a welcome and opening place. It says the staff did not know Butt well and they didn't see anything of concern, but they are willing to cooperate with police any way they can.
Saudi Arabian football bosses have apologised after their players failed to observe the minute's silence for victims of the London attacks. They didn't join the Socceroos in last night's World Cup qualifier in Adelaide, sparking widespread fury.
The Socceroos gathered and spectators stood for a minute's silence before the game.
We are going to pause just for a moment to remember the 2 young Australian women who so tragically lost their lives in the recent terror attacks in London.
While some Saudi players did stand silently, most continued with their warm-up. The snub has been widely condemned across Australia.
I think the Saudi ambassador needs to apologise on behalf of his country. This is the national football team. They have shown unbelievable disrespect.
Everyone should be united in condemnation of the terrorists.
Fans are shocked.
Surprised, amazed. I would think that it's something universal, like, out of respect for anyone for that matter.
The Socceroos stand united.
Really just trying to concentrate in that minute to show our respects, and for us it was important.
The minute silence had been approved before the game and communicated to both teams, but the Football Federation of Australia was told by Saudi Arabia it was not in keeping with their traditions. But a year ago the Saudi team observed a minute silence before another match in Barcelona. Their Football Federation has apologised, saying the players did not intend any disrespect to the memories of the victims or to cause upset to their families, friends or any individual affected by the atrocity.
Sorry is just a word. I think if they showed respect straight from the get-go, we would have forgot about it and we would have moved on.
And the results of that match and also PNG's loss in another World Cup qualifier in Trukai Sports when we come back. Stay tuned.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. In football, PNG has lost to Solomon Islands by 3-2 in their FIFA World Cup qualifier. Solomon Islands had been leading by 2-0 at the end of the first half before goals by PNG captain Michael Foster and Patrick Isa put them back in the contest. But Solomon Islands scored again with 16 minutes to go. Both teams will play the return leg next week Tuesday in Port Moresby, with the winner to face New Zealand. And in the World Cup qualifier between Australia and Saudi Arabia, the Socceroos won the game 3-2.
Visitors came from behind twice the draw level in last night's World Cup qualifier at Adelaide Oval. The powerful second half strike from Rogic was the difference.
Oh, great goal, Tommy Rogic! And Australia had the advantage once again.
You know he's a special player. And, I think he was a bit frustrated with his first half as well. And he got composed in the second half and scored a cracking goal.
It was a good strike, wasn't it? The Aussies are still third in their group going into their next qualifier against Japan, away in August. On Tuesday, they'll take on Brazil in a friendly at the MCG before leaving for the Confederations Cup in Russia.
Now to cricket. Cricket PNG's elite cricket competition, the Hebo Shield 2017, concluded its opener matches late yesterday afternoon. The men's 3-day series ended with a draw between the Hammers and the Diggers.
The men's 3-day series started on Tuesday. Winning the toss and opting to bat first, the Hammers started off the men's competition with some good cricket. The top order saw a partnership from Jason Killer and Vani Vagi Morea posting 60 runs. By the time the middle order in the likes of Jack Vare, Mahurudai and Vagi Guba took the crease, they were able to secure another 102, until strong action from the Diggers saw Hammers bowled out cheaply at the 77th over. Diggers opening batsmen Tony Ura and Dogoro Bau gave equal chase, bringing the score to 60 at stumps on day 1. On day 2, Tony Ura continued his running streak and muscled home a century with a total of 147. They were eventually bowled out at 323 in the 80th over. On day 3, resuming the second inning, Hammers did not waste time piling on the runs, though they were dismissed at 329 in the 79th over. Beating 169 runs in the last hour of play was an unlikely victory, but the Diggers fought back well. And they managed to score another 399 runs in the 17th over. The series ended on a draw, however the first inning points were awarded to the Diggers. These two teams will face off again next Tuesday to Thursday. Dina Rose Raiko, National, EMTV Sports.
Trukai Sports continues after the break. Stay tuned.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. Striking a balance between two facets of life is often challenging in the early stages. For national karate athlete Dominic Sipapi, it's all about getting priorities right and managing it. Sipapi recently graduated from the Australian Pacific Technical College while managing to battle sport and future career after studying electrotechnology over a 5-year period. He says it was all wise decision-making, hard work, time management and commitment. Sipapi represented PNG at the Pacific Games in 2011 and 2015 on home ground that led him to taking a bronze in the 67 kilogram Kumite Seniors division. He attended various competitions and was placed second at the 2012 Kyokushin Karate titles, Gold Coast in the Seniors Open Semi-Contact Kumite, bagged gold at the 2013 Summer Karate Championships, and Brisbane in the Q Seniors Open divisions. In the same year, he won a bronze at the 2013 Australia Open Karate titles in Sydney for the male team Kumite and a bronze at the 2014 Oceania Karate Championships in Fiji for Team Kumite. The 30-year-old says he is still in it to represent PNG in karate and is looking forward to the Mini Pacific Games in Vanuatu in December. More than 130 competitors will converge of the St. Mary's School Hall in Lae this weekend for the Morobe Karate Association or MKA Championships. There will be 3 events: point contact, kata demonstrations and full contact fights. MKA President Sensei John Wata says competitors are coming from various clubs in Wau, Lae, Medang and Goroka. After the Morobe Championships, the MKA will be looking at other competitions in the Philippines as well as upcoming Open tournament in September. And that ends Trukai Sports. The weather details when we come back.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
The weather details are proudly brought to you by Dulux Weather Shield. Worth doing with Dulux.
Your weather forecast for tonight and tomorrow: in the southern region only, cloudy and windy with a few light to evening rain shower or 2 in Port Moresby. Mostly fine, although partly cloudy and windy tonight until morning in Daru. Cloudy with few evening shower or 2, then fine in Kerema, becoming cloudy and windy with evening shower or 2 in Alotau, and becoming cloudy with evening shower or 2 in Popondetta.
The weather details are proudly brought to you by Dulux Weather Shield. Worth doing with Dulux.
And that's the way it is this Friday, the 9th of June 2017. From the entire EMTV News team, pleasant viewing. Good night.